Polling stations closed in Nicaragua after an electoral process characterized by peacefulness and citizen harmony, electoral authorities and international observers said. The United States reopens its land and air borders on Monday to foreign visitors fully vaccinated against COVID-19. Over 1,000 people took to the streets in Barcelona to protest against the rising electricity prices in Spain. From the headquarters of teleSUR English in Havana, this is from the South. I'm Ray Gomez. We begin with the news. Over 13,000 polling stations closed in Nicaragua after an electoral process characterized by peacefulness and citizen harmony. According to Julio Cesar Avilés, the head of the Army and Central American nation, the elections took place without any incidents. He described Nicaragua as the safest country in the region and highlighted the attendance of people in the areas assigned to the exercise of voting. The Director of Police, Francisco Diaz, also stressed that massive elections were held and expressed that his Sunday's vote symbolizes dignity, independence, self-determination, progress, prosperity, and more victories. After voting, President Daniel Ortega indicated that the vote is an expression of peace.
The vote does not kill anyone. The vote does not cause injury to any person. The vote does not call for terrorism. The vote does not call for war. The vote does not call for tanks in the country and for the economy to be paralyzed and for families to be destroyed. The vote does not call for torture.
President Ortega added that the people of Nicaragua succeeded in neutralizing the terrorist actions that in 2018 sought to impose a climate of violence in the country.
We managed to put an end to terrorism, re-establish peace and stabilize ourselves, and not only stabilize but also advance in the welfare and progress of Nicaraguan families, which is what our people wants, which is what humanity wants. Humanity does not want war, does not want blood. Humanity wants peace, progress, and welfare.
And the President of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, congratulated the people of Nicaragua for successfully carrying out peaceful elections in the face of international aggressions from the United States government and its allies.
Good news. Good news, Ernesto. Good news coming from Nicaragua. Good level of popular participation in today's elections. People in peace. Participating in the voting centers. We send greetings to the people of Nicaragua. We congratulate you in advance for this day of peace, of participation. To vote in Nicaragua, to vote in Venezuela, is to give a step to peace, to stability, to progress, for the prosperity of our countries. To vote today in Nicaragua is to vote for peace, is to vote for the country, is to vote for stability, for people's tranquility, for the right to be beautiful Nicaragua. Nicaragua is a beautiful country. We know it very well.
230 international observers from 27 countries, mainly from Europe, toured the polling centers this Sunday in Nicaragua. The accompanying delegates checked a list of the citizens voting in that center. They also checked that the conditions are guaranteeing the secrecy of the vote. In statements to the press, the foreign delegates pointed out that this is a very important day for the people of Nicaragua and assured that they will continue to visit voting centers. In this context, David Paul described the voting day as a transparent and very well-organized process.
Very impressed with the quality of the elections. Every polling station, we've been to many here in León, have the same rules, have the same access to the voter that the voters have, and access to the representatives of the different political parties, observing every step of the election. It's very transparent. It's very well organized, and very impressive. And that's something we don't have in the United States. So I think this is a real reflection of the will of the people of Nicaragua, the way they've set up this election process.
Nan McCurdy. I'm from the United States. I write for Alliance for Global Justice and other media. I'm here as a journalist following the elections. We are in Leon. We began early this morning. We're now at our fourth voting center. This voting center has 10 stations. The other ones we went to all had 13, 15. It seems like in the morning the older people tend to go out and vote, and everyone says really the crowd noons are more the young people. Everything seems to be going fine. I've interviewed the poll watchers. They say in Spanish fiscals, so these are the party members who are here all day watching the election. So you have a board of 3 people who are trained to actually carry out the election, and then each party, and there's 7 parties, can have a poll watcher. So that's important that at least some of the parties are sending their poll watchers out. Problem is that many of the parties don't have that many members, so to find someone to cover more than 13,000 polls is difficult.
Hello, greetings from Nicaragua at this election. My name is Alison Bodine. I am from Canada, here to observe the electoral process and have seen a day that is calm, a day in which the people of Nicaragua are expressing their sovereign right to vote without the intervention of the United States, Canada, or their allies. We see here democracy in action, a process that is very transparent and which also has a high level of involvement of young people.
And in other news, the migrant caravan resumes its march from Chiapas to the Mexican capital and is headed to Oaxaca. This Sunday, the caravan of over 3,000 migrants from 10 countries is heading towards Oaxaca after numerous incidents with the National Guard and members of the National Institute of Migration who insist that the migrants return to Tapachula, Chiapas. Most of the migrants decided the day before to resume the route to the southern state and abort the plan to move towards the Gulf. Migrants decided during the morning not going to Oaxaca for fear of being intercepted on the desolate roads in the area or being repressed by its inhabitants, said without proof Irneo Mujica, a member of the suspicious organization Peoples Without Borders, which accompanies them. Sololinda, a priest from Oaxaca, denounced that for many years the improvised spokesman for migrants has not been looking out for their interests and accused him of using migrants. He added that if he wanted them, would allow the National Migration Institute to give them the humanitarian visitors permits it offers them, and with that they would stop suffering in a caravan. We'll be right back after this very short break. Welcome back. The United States reopened its land and air borders on Monday to foreign visitors feel vaccinated against COVID-19. This measure ended 20 months after restrictions on travel from around the globe that separated families, helped tourism, and strained diplomatic ties. The ban imposed by former President Donald Trump in early 2020 and upheld by his successor, Joe Biden, has been widely criticized and become emblematic of the upheavals caused by the pandemic. Along the border with Mexico, many cities in the big U.S. states of Texas and California have seen significant economic struggles due to anti-COVID trade restrictions. Local economics are also impatiently waiting for a return to normal.
The pandemic did affect everybody, and we're just waiting for the people, our people, to come and visit us too. You know, it's going to help both El Paso and Juarez businesses and the economy.
Chinese authorities have reported that over three-quarters of their population received the entire set of the vaccines that the country administers against COVID-19. The National Health Commission reported that 1.72 billion people have been immunized, which represents 75.96%. In addition, the government is already reinforcing risk groups such as the elderly or customs workers. Almost 3 million shots have already been administered. Health authorities insisted that the objective of this action is the counteract of the outbreaks which have been spreading in some provinces since mid-October, which have left almost 900 cases of local transmissions. Despite China's efforts to counteract the growth of COVID-19 infections, the National Health Commission announced the detection of 74 new positive cases of the virus, of which 50 correspond to local infections. 35 asymptomatic cases have also been confirmed. Health authorities are on high alert, fearing a further increase in the number of infections in some provinces. And over 1,000 people took to the streets of Barcelona to protest against rising electricity prices in Spain. Over 100 groups, activists and trade unions, including the Alliance Against Energy Poverty, participated in the mobilization. The protest started at Plaza de la Universidad and went on via Latania, demonstrated against the last month's electricity prices, which broke several times the high historical price, making it the most expensive month ever. People of all ages came out to criticize the energy bills, which are up 44% on last year, saying it is an abuse on the part of a market control by large companies such as Endesa. Organizers claim that between 10% and 15% of the population are living in energy poverty and call for structural reform to reduce electricity prices, especially as winter approaches.
There should be control over the prices. We can't allow basic service to be in the hands of capitalism. There should be more control from the government.
We are talking about basic needs. We need electricity for hygiene and nutrition, and it's incredible that the monopolies of the energy companies should have this kind of control over the prices.
The head of technical assistance for volcanic emergency plan in the Canary Islands, Ruben Fernandez, informed Saturday that the Cumbravia eruption in the island of Palma has stabilized in recent hours. In a message to the media, Fernandez highlighted the importance of the works that will be carried out in the following days to remove the ashes and the pyroclastic flow with heavy machinery to allow access to the residents affected by significant volcanic residue in their surroundings covered by the debris. We have more stories coming up after this financial break. Welcome back. Russian communists laid the flowers Sunday at Lenin's mausoleum on Red Square to mark the 104th anniversary of the October Revolution, which saw the Bolsheviks come to power in 1817. The procession carried banners and flags of the Russian Communist Party and posters of Lenin and Stalin. Communist Party leader Gennady Tuganov spoke to the media after laying flowers at the mausoleum, stating that the celebration of the anniversary was a path to a brighter future. The Communist Party went ahead with March, which is a mere holiday since the times of the Soviet Union. The Bolshevik revolution led to the creation of the USSR.
This is a holiday of the working people. It's a holiday of our great statehood. It is a holiday of a breakthrough to a new world and future. So long as we remain faithful to this holiday, we will undoubtedly have new victories, discoveries, and accomplishments in space. Happy holiday.
In Georgia, thousands of protesters have taken the streets against last month's local election results, the imprisonment of its former president Mikhail Saakashvili, and its parliamentary election. Saakashvili, who served as president of the nation until 2013, fled the country in 2014 and has lived in exile in Ukraine since. He was sentenced in 2018 to a 6-year prison term on charges of power abuse. The charges are widely viewed internationally as politically motivated. And as a surprise move, Saakashvili returned to Georgia days before the local elections in an effort to rally support for UNM, but was arrested by Georgian authorities. He has since been on hunger strike, while doctors and officials engage in a fight over how best to treat him. So far, he's been refused a hospital transfer.
We will gather on Monday at 8 in the evening on Freedom Square to protest the rigged election and to not let the GD kill Mikhail Saakashvili in their prison.
The main demand now is to move him to this multi-profile clinic where there is the necessary medical equipment and qualified staff to do a special treatment if his condition becomes worse.
The 15-nation economic community of West African states convenes in Accra for an extraordinary summit to discuss Guinea and Mali. The group's current leader, President of Ghana, Nana Akufo-Addo, said the military government of both Mali and Guinea have sent delegations to meet there in Accra to outline their plans for the future.
Mali and Guinea, two sister nations whose membership of our community has been currently suspended as a result of the recent military takeover of their governments, in violation of the ECOWAS Protocol on Democracy and Good Governance, which provide the free and transparent ballot box as the only legitimate vehicle for assumption of political office in the community.
Niger's President Mohamed Bazoum visited a volatile border region on Saturday at the scene of an attack earlier in the week where suspected Islamic extremists ambushed a self-defense brigade and killed 69 people. The town's mayor was among those killed in Tuesday's attack. Bazoum said that the insecurity had increased and compared it to the disease of the epidemic type. But he sought to reassure residents that it would last, promising the government was working to end it. Local self-defense groups have been helping Niger's military to fight extremists who have stepped up attacks on civilians this year. The attacks have been blamed on militants linked to ISIS. The amount of violence poses a strong threat to Bazoum, who was sworn into office in April, only days after security forces thwarted an attempted military coup at the presidential palace.
Insecurity has unfortunately not diminished. It has even increased everywhere. It is like an epidemic. It is like a disease of endemic type. But God willing, it will not last. We're working to end it.
And Iran started on Sunday a deployment of their extensive military drills called SOFAK 1400. These drills occurs at the east of the Hormuz Strait in the Oman Sea. The spokesman for the maneuvers, Admiral Sayed Mahmoud Musawi, explained that the military exercise involved land, air, and naval forces and are aimed at evaluating the readiness of the troops and also the defensive and dissuading capability of the country against a possible aggression. The situation is particularly important since the last days the naval forces of the Islamic Revolution engaged themselves in an operation to liberate an Iranian oil cargo vessel stolen by the United States. The systematic practice of attack and marginalization of the Palestinian people by the Israeli occupation forces continued on Saturday. In a new attack by Israel, 3 Palestinians suffered injuries and fractures in the village of Burin, south of Nablus in occupied Cisjordania. Cisjordan, a group of Israeli settlers apparently from the nearby illegal Israeli settlement of Jizshar, attacked Palestinian homes on the outskirts of the village and assaulted the local residents. Violence and vandalism in the occupied territories is almost daily issue, and the kinds of actions are rarely prosecuted by the Israeli occupation authorities. More than 500,000 Israelis live in Jewish settlements in occupied East Jerusalem and the West Bank in violation of international law. In Iraq, the military informed about a drone attack that struck with explosives at the residence of Prime Minister Mustafa Hajime in the capital, Baghdad. Reports disclosed that the PDML was not injured in the offensive. Officials and diplomatic personnel informed that the premier's residence suffered at least one explosion impact, and the shots were heard in the immediate areas during the strike. The operation was labeled as a terrorist act by the Interior Ministry of Iraq. It transpired parallel to the past week's protest against the results of October's general elections. We've come to the end of today's news brief. Thank you very much.